Hello guys, my name is Nash. Welcome to Thursday Tales of Terror, TDT. Today's case is absolutely infuriating. We're going to be talking about the honor killing of Mona Heydari and honor killing in general. I've always hated the term honor killing, or otherwise known as shame killing. Often, it involves the murder of a woman or a girl by male family members due to the perpetrator's belief that the victim has brought dishonor or shame upon the family name, reputation, or prestige. I would like to dive deeper into the background of honor killings before I get into today's story because I think it's relevant and it's useful information to know. Victims of honor killings usually are alleged to have engaged in immoral actions ranging from openly conversing with men who are not related to them to having sex outside of marriage, even if they are victims of rape or sexual assault. I find this absolutely ridiculous. A woman can also be targeted for murder for a variety of other reasons, including refusing to enter into an arranged marriage or seeking a divorce or separation. Even if the woman has all the right reasons to file for a separation, such as being a victim of domestic abuse, she could still end up as a target. In some situations, sadly, as long as the male member of the family feels that something is not right or he perceives something to be not right, they could just act on it. What is most infuriating is that these perpetrators often do get away with their honor killings and other forms of violence. Human rights activists believe that 100,000 honor killings are carried out every year and they are widely reported in the Middle East and South Asia. But they also do occur in countries as varied as Brazil, Canada, Italy, United Kingdom, the United States and more. Honor killings that took place in rural areas were mostly unreported to police because of direct or indirect support among village residents, meaning the village and community support such hideous acts. Even if reported, such murders were often ruled as accidents. A woman beaten, burned, strangled, shot or stabbed to death could be ruled as suicide, even if there were multiple wounds and no evidences that the woman could have killed herself. And these perpetrators, they are usually proud of what they did. They don't hide the fact that they did it and they had murdered someone. For example, perpetrators who had beheaded their victims could be seen parading and holding their victim's head, walking around with the head in public, showing to people that an honor killing has just happened. Otherwise, they would hang the head outside their home or somewhere public for people to see. And this was what happened to 17-year-old Mona Heydari, who was from Iran. This case is very recent. It happened this year, so you can see honor killings are still happening today and very much still common in some parts of the world. Mona was a beautiful girl, and growing up, she didn't really have much of a choice or freedom to decide her own path as to how or who she wants to be when she grows older. At a young age of 12, Mona was forced to marry her first cousin, Sajjad Heydari. None of the reports I read online actually disclose Sajjad's age, so it's not clear how old Sajjad was at the time of their wedding. According to the Islamic Republic Civil Code, the legal age of marriage in Iran is set at age 13 for girls and age 15 for boys. However, I believe that the same act allows ages younger than that to be wed as long as there's consent and permission from the father and a judge. Not long after their marriage at the age of 14, Mona gave birth to a baby boy. During the 5 years that Mona was married to Sajjad, the Iranian media report stated that she was verbally, physically, and even sexually abused. Even after giving birth to a son, their marriage did not seem to improve. So Mona wanted a divorce because she couldn't take it anymore. And apparently, she had asked for a divorce more than once. Most of the time, after they fought or after Mona had been beaten by her husband, Mona would go home to her parents. But her parents would always convince her to go back to her husband and her son. They were against her getting a divorce and they kept telling her that she has to do it for her son. And divorce is strongly discouraged in Islam and disapproved by Iranian culture, but it is not prohibited. It's just that it's very disgraceful. It came to a point where Mona didn't really have much of an option. Her parents couldn't see that she was suffering. They kept telling her over and over again to never speak of her problems and plans to divorce her husband. And they kept using her son and family honor as reasons. Mona loved her son dearly, and she understood that family honor is very important in this country. For years and years, she would get abused constantly, but there's only so much one can take, and finally Mona reached a breaking point. Mona fled from Iran to Turkey by herself. She didn't take her son with her. By this time, Mona was only 17 and she was in a foreign place all by herself, and she was probably scared. She knew of the consequences, but still she made the decision to flee. So you could probably imagine how bad her situation back at home must have been for her. I am assuming that this was her first time to leave the country because from what I've gathered, married women in Iran need their husband's permission to leave the country or renew their passports. And this has caused a lot of problems, especially for prominent female athletes in Iran, as sometimes their husbands will not allow them to participate in sport matches held outside the country. Unfortunately for Mona, she didn't get to be safe for very long in Turkey. She did, however, have some support during her time there. There was actually a young man by the name of Ali who helped her a lot in Turkey. He helped her navigate her life in Turkey. According to sources, she knew Ali online, but they were not having an affair or anything like that. And from what I've gathered, it didn't seem like Mona had any plans to return back to Iran anytime soon, but Mona's father and brother would try to look for her. It was revealed that Mona's father had filed a complaint with Interpol in regards to his daughter's escape from Iran. He also asked the Iranian embassy in Turkey to essentially force Mona to go back to Iran. Mona's father and brother eventually succeeded in tracking her down, and they managed to persuade her to return back to Iran. They reassured her that she would be safe back home and that they would protect her from Sajjad. Mona trusted them and agreed to go back. Ali, her friend, was concerned for her safety, but Mona told Ali that she had faith in her father. She believed that her father would not allow Sajjad to kill her, and this decision would lead Mona to her demise. On the 5th of February 2022, Mona Heydari's horrific and gruesome killing was reported everywhere on the news. This happened just a few days after she returned to Iran. She was brutally killed by Sajjad and his brother, despite Mona's father's reassurance that she would be protected from him. A video had been circulated around on the internet showing a man holding a knife in his right hand, which I think is a machete knife, and on his left hand, he was holding a bloody severed head. It's a really disturbing video. Sajjad could be seen smiling, and it was one of those smiles and expressions as if he had done something amazing. He was also bragging about his wife's severed head as he walked around with it. It was not difficult to identify Sajjad as the man in the video because he was posing for the cameras happily, and it was also confirmed that the head belonged to 17-year-old Mona Heydari. According to an Iranian article, Sajjad and his brother had reportedly tied her hands and feet and beheaded her. Mona's headless body was wrapped in a blanket and thrown away by Sajjad's brother in another area. Where were Mona's father and brother who promised to protect her in this whole situation? Sajjad then took Mona's head and paraded in the streets of southwestern Iranian city of Avaz in an attempt to prove that he's an honorable man. The images and video not only shocked the people of Iran, but people from all over the world. After the video went viral in Iran, a media supervisory board shut down a website called Rokna from continuously publishing images and news of the incident. The website was violating public decency. Those who published and shared the video may also face arrest. Sajjad and his brother were eventually arrested. The prosecutor in charge of the case promised that the two men would be dealt with severely, but people were doubtful about this. Iran's law enforcement generally considers violence perpetrated upon women by immediate family members or other relatives as family matters. Hence, punishment for perpetrators is often lenient. Women who are perceived to have tainted the reputation of their family or community tend to fall victim to honor killing. Mona's death, reported on February 5, 2022, is only the latest in a series of so-called honor killings involving young women in Iran in the last 2 years. I'm going to share some other honor killings that happened so that you guys can see that some of the reasons for the honor killings to happen are just beyond ridiculous. In May 2020, 14-year-old Romina Ashrafi was sleeping when her father took a sickle and cut her head. He had to do it because Romina had tainted the family honor by running away with her boyfriend. After running away, she was found by police and Romina was sent home despite reportedly telling them that she feared for her life. So what punishment did the father face? Could it be the usual death sentence or life imprisonment for murdering someone? No, in this case, it's different. If a man is found guilty of murdering his daughter in Iran, the punishment is only between 3 and 10 years in prison. Article 220 of Iran's Islamic Penal Code stipulates that fathers and grandfathers cannot be sentenced to death for killing a child or a grandchild, and so Romina's father was sentenced to only 9 years in prison. In the same year, in the month of June, 22-year-old Rehane Amiri was killed by her father because she came home late. She returned home at around 11:30 p.m. and Rehane's father was enraged, and while struggling with his daughter, he threw an iron bar at her which hit the 22-year-old girl's head and killed her. He then dumped the body in an open area of the city, and this was not his first time. Apparently, he had tried to kill Rehane in 2017, but she was saved by his other daughter. In August 2021, 14-year-old Mobina Saori was killed by her husband, who was also her cousin. She was married to a young cleric. Cleric is like a head of the Muslim community who leads Muslim worshippers in prayers. There were rumors circulating around about Mobina with another boy. Someone actually told Mobina's father that the person had entered their home in the middle of the night, but this was not true because Mobina's husband was at home at night. And these rumors caused the male members of Mobina's family to plan her murder. She was then suffocated with her own scarf and her body was dumped in a garden. They tried to cover the murder up as a suicide, but eventually the husband confessed and the rest of the male family members were released. It's sad and unfortunate to know that such a young life had been taken away because of rumors, unfounded rumors. And this is not uncommon. Many honor killings are based on suspicion and lack evidence. Iranian women are denied the most basic rights, including the right to divorce, custody, travel, education, employment, and even clothing. Mona Heydari's death has sparked outcries about the lack of protections for women facing violence in Iran. In particular, the incident renewed debates surrounding the government's refusal to pass laws that could better protect women like Mona and the widespread practice of child marriage. Media reports showed that Mona's father and prominent men in the Muslim faith in Iran were very much on Sajjad's side. Mona's father said, "She was not forced to marry, and in fact, her husband provided her with the very best of life. It's true, there was fighting between them and sometimes there was violence and she would return home. But she only stayed for 2 or 3 days and then he would pick her up and life would return to normal. These fights between husband and wife are completely normal, and I don't think there was a problem as she did not ask for a divorce." This is completely untrue, of course. Even though Sajjad Heydari was arrested for killing his child bride, there is still no news on what charges he will be facing. And if there are, Iranian law would still work in his favor. Iranian laws allow men to carry out various forms of violence against women with little, if any, consequence. For example, Article 302 of Iran's Islamic Penal Code states that a man can legally kill a person for committing a crime that is punishable by death under Islamic law, such as adultery. A woman in Iran, however, could never walk free after killing her adulterous husband and could actually be executed. In the aftermath of the latest honor killing of Mona Heydari, Human Rights Watch condemned the honor killing, calling for reforming a draft law that would criminalize violence against women. Human rights activists in Iran made a petition on darkhouse.org, an Iranian-based petition website, to stop killings in Iran. The petition currently has 951 signatures as of April 9, 2022. Sadly, if the parliament is not seeing this as a major problem, child bride and honor killings will never stop. In fact, we will never know the real figure of honor killings because most of them are either cover-ups or unreported, which is extremely scary. I can't imagine how scary it is to be born as a woman in these countries where they deem violence against women to be acceptable. And that's all I have for today's case. Let me know what are your thoughts about today's case and topic on honor killing. Or if you want to have a discussion, please feel free to leave a comment. It's a scary world. Stay safe, everyone. Until then, I'll see you guys again next Thursday. Bye.